Start with the arteries first, which is anything in red. It's hard to see, so I'm going to start from the back side first so you get it clear. So, coming right off the aortic arch, I can't see it. Coming off the aortic arch is going to be the right brachiocephalic, left common carotid, left subclavian, which is the one way over here. Coming off the right brachiocephalic artery, you have the internal carotid, the common carotid. This coming off of the arch is the left common carotid. It bifurcates into the internal carotid and the external carotid. External goes up to the face, internal goes up into the circle of Willis. A little further down in the subclavian areas, you have what's called the vertebral arteries that come off the subclavian arteries. They come up together and they form the basilar artery that takes you right into the posterior cerebral artery, the posterior communicating artery, to the anterior cerebral, to the anterior communicating, and that creates the circle of Willis, which you can't really see too well up here, so they probably won't ask you that. Once you go underneath the clavicles, the subclavians, go into the underarms, turns into the, can't see it, turns into the axillary, then goes into the brachial, and bifurcates into the lateral is radial, and the medial is ulnar. Then you have a deep and superficial palmar arch, and then you have a dorsal palmar arch. And the thick ones here are basically going to be metacarpals, and these are going to be digital arteries. That's the easy part. The ascending arch and descending aorta, it comes all the way down here, and as it goes below the diaphragm, which is right here, anytime it goes to any one of these organs, you'll see that they kind of go in together, and they're just named after the organs. So whatever goes into here is called the hepatic artery, splenic artery, renal artery, adrenal artery, and the rest comes down and they start bifurcating. So once they start coming down, these, way up here by the kidney, this one coming way down here. These are actually the gonadal or testicular arteries. This is the descending or the abdominal aorta. It bifurcates into the common iliacs, and the common iliacs bifurcate into internal, external. The external, once it leaves the pelvis, becomes the femoral. Once it goes behind the knee, it becomes popliteal. Then you have the anterior and posterior tibial arteries, fibular arteries, goes all the way down to the dorsalis pedis, then it goes into the metatarsals, and eventually the digital arteries in the toes. Arteries are easy, veins are a little more difficult. So let's start with the, let's drain the head. So literally on this one, some models will show a internal and external jugular that goes separate all the way down into the subclavian, but this one has a external and internal that doesn't show it and comes into the common jugular, goes into the brachiocephalic, and drains into the superior vena cava. This is the vertebral artery, a vein, that's draining from the occipital sinus in the brain. And these are digital veins that go into palmar, deep and superficial palmar arches. And then you have all sorts of things. So on the lateral side, you have the cephalic vein that drains all the way up to the axillary. On the medial, you have the basilic vein that drains into the brachial. And of course, you have the radial and the ulnar and the median that drain right into the brachial. And then it comes basically back up into subclavian, brachiocephalic, superior vena cava, into the right atrium. But if you look around, turn it around, you also see that there's some structures that come in here. These are called the azygos veins that drain the thoracic cage. Alright, so let's take the leg. These are a little strange. Not a great model. There's actually a better model in there. It shows this kind of together. Alright, so what you have to know with this basically is this medial one, again, these are going to be digital veins into either plantar or dorsal arches, and they'll feed into the great saphenous vein that comes all the way up into the femoral, and the small saphenous that actually comes all the way up into the popliteal. Then you have the radial and the you'll have the fibular and the tibular vein drains up into the femoral vein. The femoral vein comes up into the common iliac vein, which is, here's external, this is internal, and this is the common iliac, which goes into the inferior vena cava. And that's about it.